Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff Brown. Welcome to Saturday Morning Breakfast. And in case you're wondering, today is May 23rd, Saturday. And if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat box. And my wife, who's sitting next to me, can transcribe them and I can read them. So now I'd like to welcome Paul Swiden from Unicorn Bookstore, Silver Unicorn Bookstore. So Paul, how are you doing? And give us a little background on your store and how long you've been in business, so forth.
Will do. Thank you for having me this morning. So we are located in the heart of West Acton. We have been open for a little more than 2 years now, and business has been very good. We've been welcomed by the community, which has been great, and it's been really positive to see. I think people missed Willow Books after it closed, and we're ready to have another bookstore in town.
Okay, so give us a timeline on what your ramp down was. When did you have to cut back your services and so forth?
Sure. So on Friday, March 15th, we announced that we would be offering free delivery, free shipping, and free curbside pickup, as well as, talking with people over the phone and, personal shopping and all that kind of stuff. That lasted for about 10 days. And then on the 25th, when the governor ordered the shelter in place or the lockdown, whatever you want to call it, we had to get rid of curbside pickup. And so ever since then, it's just, we've only been allowed to take internet orders and just do shipping and delivery, which we've been doing a lot of, fortunately.
Was any financial assistance available to you?
So because we've been able to stay busy, I did not apply for any loans or any programs through the government. I felt like there's a lot of businesses in my neighborhood that have not been as fortunate or just have not been able to be open, period, because their business model relies on events with people, and they're not able to have those right now, frankly. So I felt, applying for some of the programs that were available was me being greedy. So I haven't done that, but fortunately, the Small Business Administration is paying my loan for the next 4 months. Which is something a program that they did without, we didn't have to apply for it. It's just a program They're doing.
So you're a great supporter of the local businesses. You just spoke about some of those. Do you think some would be in big trouble if this keeps on going?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. I think there's a decent chance that the landscape of West Acton changes in the next 6 months. That already we're seeing the government, mostly at the federal level. Massachusetts hasn't really seen this yet, but in other states, we've seen the government already be less willing to help out small businesses. Large multinational corporations are not going to feel the pinch, but we're already seeing a push to say, hey, we already gave you a program, that's going to be it. And the same thing with stimulus checks. You saw this week that the federal government thinks one stimulus check was enough, and I don't know if it is or isn't, but if the spigot has turned off, then I worry that that's going to impact a lot of small businesses in our neighborhood.
How are your employees doing?
My employees are good. We have a couple that come into the store still to help fill orders and keep the store in good enough shape to be in there. And then we have others that are working remotely, whether it's doing virtual events or social media or helping us track orders or, putting content up on the website. So I'm fortunate in that a lot of my business can migrate to our website. So I've been able to keep a lot of my employees engaged, and even if they haven't been engaged, I've still been making sure that everybody gets what they need.
What's the future look like for you?
So we're starting curbside pickup again on Tuesday. We have a contact-free way of doing it. We basically set out a box and go and put your books in the box, and then we go back into the store, and then you go and pick up your books. So we're excited to do that because we've had dozens of customers call and say, hey, can I just come get it? You can just leave it outside. And I say, I can't. The Board of Health said I can't do that. So now that we're able to start doing that again, I think our customers will really appreciate that. But beyond that, I'm not sure. The plan right now, according to the state, is that I'll be allowed to open our doors on June 8th, and I just don't know that I'm ready to do that. We'll see in a couple weeks when the time comes, but in just about every state and country that's reopened in the past month, they've seen a near immediate spike in coronavirus cases, and I don't want to do that to our community, but I especially don't want to do that to my employees.
So you make your own decision as far as your own store, but who is kind of the regulator? Is it the local Board of Health or the state government?
To me, those two are the people that I look to, along with my Chamber of Commerce, because my Chamber of Commerce head really has his finger on the pulse. His name is John Kerr. He really has his finger on the pulse of all the legislation that's happening and everything that the state politicians are doing. And then in concert with him, I take my cues from our local Board of Health, run by Cheryl Ball, and from the governor's announcements. The governor's announcements have not always been clear, but I do appreciate that he's at least been at the podium every day taking questions.
Yeah, good. So I got a question from a listener. Are there any upcoming virtual events at Unicorn?
Yes. So none for the rest of this month, but in June, we have, on June 13th, we have a story time scheduled with a local author named Maddie Frost. She has a new book coming out, I believe, on Tuesday called Smug Seagull. It's a kid's picture book about a seagull who thinks it's the best at swiping people's food on the beach. So it should be a great summer read for kids. And then on June 18th, we have a book about a female tennis player named Lottie Dodd, who was in the estimation of the biographer, the world's first women's sports star. So we're looking forward to that. That'll be a panel discussion with a local sports writer friend of mine, as well as the author and the head of that book's imprint.
So was there another question?
No.
So what the times for those events?
Oh, sorry. So the story time on June 13th will be at 11 a.m. and the panel discussion for the sports book will be June 18th at 7 p.m.
Okay.
And you can find the Zoom links to register for those right on the events page on our website.
So that'll be by Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you've got a great website.
Thank you.
When you might open in the future,
mm-hmm.
What would you call the capacity of the store?
It's an interesting question. I don't know that we'll have more than 7 or 8 people in the store. Just using that 10-person guideline, on most weekdays, there's 2 of us in the store. So, add another 8 customers, and that's that 10-person kind of guideline that you're at. But that's not usually a problem during the week. On the weekends, that's something we'll have to pay closer attention to, because there's more of a crowd on weekends. But yeah, I think that 5 to 8 ish person limit will be about as far as it goes. And I think we've been buying hand sanitizer when it's available, and certainly people are going to have to wear masks for the foreseeable future.
Okay, good. That's great. Hey, thanks a lot, Paul, and good luck to you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, see you later. Okay, we now have Scott. I know he's here somewhere. He might be on
iPhone right here.
He might be on the iPhone, Hector.
I am.
Oh, there you are.
Oh,
There you
there
are.
you go.
Didn't see you. There's Scott.
morning.
So this is Scott Richardson. He's from Bullfinch's restaurant in Sudbury, and I have to say we did a takeout with you last night. Had
Thank you so much.
crab cakes and blue cheese, the salad, and the salmon dish, and it was fantastic.
Terrific. I recognize the name on the takeout ticket.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, your mother took my order. So why don't you give us a little background with yourself? What your history and the history of
Sure.
the restaurant?
Yep. So my parents started their first restaurant when I was about 2 in Albany. Over the course of years, they opened 3 more restaurants in the Albany area. They moved to Sudbury. My father was one of the co-founders of the ski market in Boston back in the mid-'70s. And we moved to Sudbury, and about 1980, the space that we're in right now became available, and my parents decided to open Bullfinch's. I started there, pardon me, as a dishwasher when I was about 13 years old. Worked front of the house, bussing, waiting tables, tending bar through high school. I did a couple short stints at Cornell University Hotel and Restaurant Management School. Ended up coming back to the restaurant when I was about 20 or so, and fell into the head chef position, basically, and have been chef co-owner since I was about 20 years old.
And so, tell us what your restaurant offers. I know you got a bar and so forth.
Yeah, I mean we're a full service restaurant. I hate to use the term fine dining. Kind of pigeonholes you. We serve really tasty American contemporary food in a casual upscale environment.
And you've talk about the cooking school.
Yeah, we do cooking schools. Well, if we ever get back to cooking schools, but we do cooking school. You can actually see a couple of them on our website. We have some that were professionally filmed, so you can see them. But that was a great success, and hopefully will be again.
How many vendors would you guess that you're involved with, including everything from food to paper goods? And
probably close to a dozen.
A dozen.
Yeah, when we talk about food, linen, trash removal, pest control.
Yeah.
And
was everything in plentiful supply as far as everything pre-COVID? There were no shortages or anything?
Nope. The only thing that that we've seen personal shortage of, everybody has sanitizers of some sort. But tenderloin was my only real issue about a week ago. But with the help of my salespeople, I was able to gather some up before supplies got really tight. But besides that, I haven't had issues with getting anything.
Okay. And how many employees did you have?
We had 25, 30 between full and part-time. Yeah.
How many is that in the kitchen?
There are 7 of us in the kitchen
Okay.
normally.
And how many of those are family members?
My son Ben.
Oh, okay.
So just one.
All right.
Parents.
Yeah. So you're well. We'll talk about that later. But so how did the slowdown work? Well, actually, you know what I'm going to do? Just to remind people, I've got the timeline of what happened in Massachusetts. So February 1st was the first COVID-19 case. March 6th, there were 3 presumptive cases. March 8th, 5 new presumptive cases, all linked to Biogen. The St. Patrick's Day parade was canceled on March 8th. March 10th, state of emergency, and the marathon was postponed. March 15th, Boston schools were closed. And then also March 15th, Boston restaurants were supposed to reduce to 50% and gatherings were 25 or less. And then March 23rd, non-essential businesses must close until April 7th, which of course was extended. And the limit to the number of people was 10. So bring us through that time.
Basically, the way I remember it was the weekend before St. Patrick's Day, we cut all of our seating basically in half, 50%. And then before I knew it, it was St. Patrick's Day, and we were doing takeout on St. Patrick's Day.
Wow.
It almost seemed to all happen in a flash, you know.
So I know you only did the 50% for a couple of days, but what did that look like? You removed tables, or you just didn't set
Well,
tables?
at that point in time, because we really didn't know where things were going, we basically just sat people further apart as opposed to moving tables out of the restaurant.
Right. And how did you work the bar in that case, or was that section closed?
Stools, we removed stools from the bar
Oh, okay.
to create more separation. Yeah.
So then you started takeout.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
And
yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
Takeout was super successful. I mean, our first night was St. Patrick's Day, so we were doing traditional corned beef, cabbage, you know, boiled dinner, and we were just booked out, basically. You know, not overwhelmed, but stretched to the limit. You know, we weren't ready for doing large scale takeout, you know. But we did it St. Patrick's Day successfully, and then we did it that Wednesday very successfully. I mean, I can't say enough about our loyal clientele that have just continued to support us, and I can't tell you, we see the names of the customers on the tickets in the kitchen, and basically almost every ticket that comes up, I recognize the name. You know, I say I'm the chef, but I also do a fair amount of the front of the house hosting. So I know a lot of our loyal guests personally. And it's very nice to see so many regular customers continuing to support us. So back to takeout. Got very busy Tuesday, Wednesday. And then we sat down Wednesday night and figured out a system as to how to do it best, both for us and for our guests. And what we've done is we serve takeout from 4 until 8. We have 10-minute intervals between 4 and 8 o'clock. And for every 10-minute interval, we'll do 3 orders. Call, pick a time that you want to pick up, place your order. When you arrive at the restaurant, you call us from your vehicle. We bring your takeout order out of the restaurant, set it on a table, make verbal and eye contact with you to make sure that that is your order. And then we step away from the table, go back into the restaurant, and you pop out of your car and grab your to-go. And the reason we did, it's almost like making a reservation. The reason we did it is, one, to keep from overwhelming the kitchen, which from what I understand from other restaurants, that a lot of restaurants are overwhelmed because, you know, everybody wants to eat at 6:30, but you can't feed everybody at 6:30 logistically. So that's the way we have it organized, and it's been working really well. The other nice thing about that is that there aren't a bunch of people in the parking lot waiting to pick up to go. You know, at one point in time, there'll be 3 guests waiting to pick up food. So that's how we do it. And we are down to Wednesday through Saturday. We're only doing 4 days right now.
Okay. So I want to remind people you can ask questions by using the chat, and I have one here. Will you start outdoor dining soon?
As soon as the governor allows us. We've been taking this time to set up our seasonal patio. If you've never been to Bullfinch's before, we have a beautiful 20 by 30 tent that we set up. My wife does some of the most incredible planting and gardening around the patio. You'd be hard pressed to know that you were sitting by Route 20 when you sit on our patio. Yeah. Were you any financial assistance from either the state or the federal government? Most definitely. My wife is also my bookkeeper, and as soon as I started talking about the PPP, she was at the front door of Citizens Bank before they opened to make sure that we were first in line. And I give all the credit in the world to my wife, Terry, who was like a bulldog and really kept at it and got us some money. We're very fortunate that if we didn't get that money, we could probably sustain ourselves with the amount of takeout that we're doing.
I've heard that there's a maybe it's stuck in Congress, a restaurant stabilization fund.
Well, when you think about it, most restaurants' business models are based on the number of seats they have. So, like any business, if you take your revenue stream and you cut it in half, it's going to make it difficult to make profit.
Yeah, right.
A restaurant business is a business of pennies, which I learned long ago, much as any business really is. But seats are money, and the best advice I ever heard was the most expensive thing in a restaurant is an empty seat.
Yeah.
So we try and fill them up.
Sure. How many employees do you have right now?
Right now, there are 6 of us working. So myself and my son Ben in the kitchen with my longtime chef Robert. Front of the house, my wife Terry, my sister Ashley, who's been affected by this too. You know, she's a ballet teacher and a personal fitness trainer, and obviously none of that is happening. So she's working with us. My mom is there, and we have a dishwasher.
Okay.
And that's it.
Good. How about the stores around you? Do you know how they're doing?
Well, we've got Dream Bridal next door to us, which, I mean, you can imagine anybody in the wedding we had functions booked every Saturday this summer, and they're all gone.
Yeah.
We've lost 2 of our Mother's Day is the day we make the most money all year long. and that's gone. Same with Easter. So, as I said, Dream Bridal, I think she's doing some appointments via video conferencing. I'm next to Sudbury Taylor Rental, which they're open, but they're obviously affected. You know, they have tents to set up every weekend, and of course, those are all canceled. You know, wedding rentals, all that sort of stuff. So,
Yeah,
it's hard for everybody. I feel for everybody. I feel very fortunate that I get to go to work, have a sense of purpose, and consider myself very fortunate.
you mentioned other restaurant owners. You must belong to an association or something that you?
Yeah, we belong to the Mass Restaurant Association, so we are in constant contact with them, and they're a terrific organization, always keeping us up to date on what is around the bend.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a non-COVID question
Mhm.
that I actually wanted to ask you at the last cooking school that Linda and I went to.
Yes.
And to reiterate, you go into a side room at Bullfinch's, and there are, what, 24 people or so?
We do. So it's a 20 guests. We book out. It's a 3-course meal. I demonstrate the courses out at a table, so you can see the courses, and then the actual meal or the dish that I've just prepared comes out of the kitchen, paired with wine, and as you can attest, we have a lot of fun.
Yeah, we've gone
And you
four.
get to ask
We've
questions.
gone 4 times, and yeah, you get to
Yeah.
ask questions as the
Yeah.
show goes on.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, Linda just said she learned how to cut an onion from you.
There you go.
Now, the last time we went, you taught us how to make beef Wellington,
Yes.
and when that was done, it, like you say, they came out from the kitchen, your waiters and waitresses,
Mhm.
and on that plate was a potato dish. And as I recall, it was a rectangular cube, and it had some
Those-
kind of, I don't know, it was yellow or orange, but what was the name of that? And can you describe what is in that?
6 months ago.
So, being a chef and trying to be a successful chef, the last thing you do is throw food out. Okay, so what you had was what we called fried crashed potatoes. So on our menu, we have crashed potatoes. So at the end of the service, we may have crashed potatoes left over. So what we do with those crashed potatoes is put them in a pan and lay them flat, let them set up in the refrigerator over the night, and then we cut them into squares and pop them in the fryer.
Delicious.
Okay, yeah. it was great.
So that's what you had. You had a fried crashed potato, and the little sauce on top is was a little homemade French dressing.
Okay, great.
Tuesday night.
So,
Well, what am I just speaking directly to Linda? Is that what she wants to
yeah,
know?
pretty much. But my question was, when you have your menu, of course, and
Yes.
you want to try a new offering, like when your crashed potatoes, like unfried crashed potatoes.
Yeah.
How is that process? How do you find a new product? How do you test it? How do you know that people like it? How do you decide to finally put it on the menu?
Well, we are fortunate, as you see, we do specials every night. So that's a great opportunity to try a new dish to see what the public, how the public reacts to it. You know, we do a lot of dishes, and we have lots of regular guests, and all the time we hear, "Oh my God, you've got to put this on the menu. Oh my God, you've got to put this on the menu." Oftentimes we find that once it goes on the menu, it gets lost on the menu, and it's not quite so special. But that's how we kind of look for dishes to add to the menu. the double-edged sword of being in business for 40 years that are some of our regular dishes. If I took a, Ben's black and blue filet off the menu, I think people would be after me with pitchforks and torches, that kind of thing. So I try to keep a little bit of the old and get a little bit of the new in there. But the specials are always a great creative outlet for us as chefs. So that's one of the processes.
And I've always wondered, do you ever, stay in the kitchen and watch the plates come back to the kitchen to evaluate, what's been.
You were listening to cooking school, weren't you?
Well, yeah, sure. Why not?
Because I think I do mention a cooking school is another wise lesson that I learned. It said spend a Friday or Saturday night by the waste basket at the dish station and see what people are not eating. I think I bring up the example of the fact that we used to serve a lemon with our tuna dish, which has ginger, wasabi, soy. It doesn't need a lemon. It doesn't require a lemon. And back to thinking of the restaurant businesses in pennies, you say to yourself, well, a quarter of a lemon is, nowadays 7 cents, 12 cents. And you say, oh, well, it's only 12 cents. But you start multiplying that 12 cents by 25 every night. As I said, what I do is I take things, multiply them by 365 days, and then you get a feeling for what you're wasting and what you're spending.
Okay. So before we get into what the future holds, I've got another question from the audience. Anything happening with music upcoming on the patio?
We shall see. Once again, seats are our main priority because seats are how we make money. So we can't sacrifice seats to put a band, but the beauty of Bullfinch's is that we're an independently run restaurant. We're run by a smart group of people and we can pivot on a dime. If you told me tomorrow all I could serve was cheeseburgers, I'd be serving you the best darn cheeseburger you ever had.
Oh, great. Okay, another question. Did you adjust your menu for takeout? Or did you change packaging? What was that?
And keep the same menu.
And keep the same menu.
Most of the packaging we kept the same. I did adjust some of the. I dropped a few of the. I dropped a couple of seafood offerings on the appetizers just because I wanted to keep things as fresh as possible and keep things moving through. And also, I try to avoid items. A chef of mine, Charles, puts things succinctly when you're talking about cooking. And he says, think like the food. Think like your whatever it is. And I try and think of that item going into a package and sitting in that package for 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Right.
Some things get better when they do that. Some things get worse when they do that. And I try and make things better.
Okay. I've got another question. Is the menu changing in response to climate concerns? More vegetarian options, for instance, do they sell?
Well, I think we pretty much, if you can go to bullfinches.com and look at our menu, we've pretty much got every dietary niche covered. We can do almost everything. And I do keep the climate in mind when I do make menu decisions.
Okay. So what percentage of seats do you need to fill in your restaurant to be profitable?
100%.
Yeah. So 50% doesn't look very good then.
Well, no, it doesn't. Especially for, I mean, we're fortunate. We at this point in time, because we have the patio, we could probably make up enough seats that we would normally have indoors.
Right.
But as I said earlier, we've got a business model that's structured for 100 seats. Now, if you say, okay, well, you have to continue business with 50 seats, something's got to give, you know? And I think that's the difficulty with the restaurant business, is because they're all like, well, get your employees back. But am I going to bring employees back to stand around and look at each other? Because there's not enough, you know.
Right.
If I'm only doing 50% of my tables, I only need 50% of my kitchen staff and 50% of my wait staff. So.
Yeah, and I wonder, what are your employees doing now? I mean, will they be ready to return if you need them?
I'm sure, but a lot of these people are making more money. A lot of these people are making more money sitting at home. So, you know, how do I compete with that?
Yeah. Okay, so what is the timeline from what Charlie Baker said recently for you to try to reopen?
Well, I guess June 18th is supposedly the next would be the phase that would incorporate restaurants. And we're prepared. You know, we've set up our tables already in the dining room and on the patio to be at least 6 feet apart. We've got custom mask made, let's say bullfinches for our employees. We've got everything we can think of to be ready for that June 18th opening.
And that would be at 50%. That's what's required.
Well, let's at 50%. Yeah.
Yeah. And who is kind of overseeing all this? Is it the local board of health?
We're really taking our cues from the state right now to see what the governor says. And as I said, the Mass Restaurant Association is a great advocate for restaurants. As I said, the Mass Restaurant Association met with the governor last week to plead our case, and I think it's a valid case. If there's anybody out there beyond health services that's ready to keep people safe, it's the restaurant business. We've been keeping people safe for years. You know, we know about cross-contamination. We know all that stuff. It's part of our daily routine, basically, in the restaurant to begin with. So.
Another question from the audience: how are you planning on getting the word out when you open up, and are you going to offer more specials?
We'll probably keep our specials at you know, we normally try to do an appetizer, you know, either a beef, you know, or a chicken, and always a seafood special. But as I said, we're ready to pivot on a dime. You know, we've done Italian nights, burger nights, all sorts of different things. So we're really waiting to see what business looks like when they allow us to let guests back into our restaurant. We are prepared to continue doing as much takeout as we can, and we assume that we're going to be doing a fair amount because people aren't necessarily excited to, you know, not everybody's excited to go out into the world. You know, right. People are content to stay in their homes and avoid illness.
And how would you try to ramp up your publicity I mean, how do you do it now? Is it word of mouth, or do you print?
Well, I mean, yeah, word of mouth. If you're not on our email list, you should be. I think probably you and Linda are, right? I would assume.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's the best way to stay in touch with us. We have a Facebook account. We've got an Instagram account. We've got our website. And if you're a member, if you get our email newsletter, you'll get our specials every week. You'll know about music. You'll know about everything. So that's probably the best way to keep informed about what's happening at Bullfinch's.
Do you do your own web modifications? Your website?
No, we have a small one person who takes care of any updates to the website that need to be taken care of.
And has that person been able to keep up with the demand?
Yeah. I mean, it's a template, and they just do a couple quick changes, really. But
yeah. Another question from the audience: how many restaurants are not going to survive this?
a lot.
Really?
I mean, we just discussed it. The profit margin in a restaurant is very, very small. And I mean, we have our pizza shop that's at the end of our plaza. He's done. You know, he's shut down. And there's not. One thing I can say is support. If you want to see local family-owned businesses return, support them. Corporate restaurants can survive. All right, 99s, Applebee's, nothing against them. But what I'm saying is they have the reserves to survive. It's restaurants like Bullfinch's, the local pizza shop, the local coffee shop. It's those places that need every penny. And you will see, I think you're going to see a lot of restaurants that just don't reopen.
So that'll mean there might be a lot of employees that are looking for work, of course.
Yeah.
Is Bullfinch's on any takeout service database?
We are not.
Okay.
One of the reasons being is that some of those companies take 30% of your order, 30% of the money that you make on your order.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's I'm not going to go work for free.
Yeah.
So right now we are not, and we're staying away from it because of the fees. We cannot afford it to pay their fees.
Right.
But hopefully in the near future, we will be offering the ability to for guests to order takeout online.
Okay.
They still have to come and pick it up,
right?
but they'll be able to order it online, set a time for pickup, so on and so forth.
Okay. Now this is a question either for now or pre-COVID. My wife and I talk about all the time, you know, how do restaurants know what food to buy and how much? So how do you know how much various foods to purchase to have on hand for guests?
We've been doing it for a long time, so we kind of have a feel for what we use on a daily basis. We get seafood every day, 6 days a week. We get produce 5 times a week. Broadline distributors I can get 4 times a week if I want to. So it's not like I can basically order a day at a time. And that's what we try and do. If you remember cooking school, the perfect service is when you end your cooking service and you don't have to wrap anything.
Yeah.
You've run out of everything that you've prepped for that night service. Would be the perfect service.
And, and you mentioned before that you only had a problem with tenderloin,
So far, yeah.
and your vegetables are coming in, and the truckers are working.
Yep.
How far away? What's your farthest distance your vendors have to come from? Various foods.
I mean, most of my seafood I get from Cap Martin's in Wellesley, and I always speak to the captain, Kimmy Martin, and I ask him, who needs help? What fishermen need me to buy what fish from them, and that's kind of how I make my decision. And my produce company is local. I use as much local produce as possible. My wife is. Here, let me see if I can show you one thing. I'm out back. I don't know if I can do this properly, but let me see if I can do this. Maybe. No, I can't do it. Maybe in the background you can see some of my wife's plants on sawhorses there.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. So we have a kitchen garden at the restaurant, which she's in the process of planting right now. So we've got, we'll have hyper local produce soon enough.
Yeah, good. Another question from the audience. Do you know anyone who had the virus?
I do not.
Yeah, that's excellent. Okay, I read an article talking about what restaurants might be when they reopen. And it mentions things like plastic separators, automatic soap dispensers, and trash cans that you, like in the bathroom, you open with the foot, door openers, disposable menus, anything of those things that you're going to do?
Well, I personally don't want to get into plastic separation. First of all, cost. Secondly, ambiance. But we're prepared for almost everything. One thing we are going to do when we open up, I mean, obviously we're going to use single-use menus, but we're also going to ask guests to, if they want to, bring their own iPad, or, I mean, you can see our menu on your phone. So I think we'd prefer to not hand anybody anything, if at all possible.
What about ketchup?
What about ketchup? Open your mouth and we'll squeeze it directly into your mouth.
Well, I mean,
Don't use ketchup.
okay, how about salt and pepper then?
Well, first of all, just so everybody knows, nothing can grow on salt. So salt is antibacterial, antimicrobial. And we've always done single service salt. If you've been to cooking school, we serve that beautiful Maldon sea salt.
Yeah.
So we serve little individual containers to guests when they sit. And it's not the salt that generally is cross-contaminating people. It's the shaker that they pick up, because salt won't harbor germs. It's the shaker itself.
Yeah. Well, that's the same thing with I don't know about ketchup, but are you going to do the little single serving for ketchup?
Well, probably not. I mean, we've got a perfectly clean vessel to put it into. We've got a clean person handling the ketchup. The ketchup's coming right out of the bottle and it's going directly to your table. So
yeah,
I think a lot of the stuff that we do in the restaurant, as far as keeping things clean, is basic common sense. It really is when you think about it. And that's the way we handle it. But we're going to put as few things on the table as possible, obviously. Fresh tablecloth, fresh paper, candle, and then when guests arrive, then we'll bring out, forks, knives, napkins, plates as needed.
And will you allow walk-ins or reservation only when you reopen?
We'll allow anybody that wants to come to my restaurant can come to my restaurant.
And
I'm not going to say no to anybody.
yeah, sure. What about contactless payment? How are you going to handle that?
Yeah, we've already got that organized. We have, through our POS system, we've got a system organized where it will be contactless. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I've got one more. Oh, we got a question coming in here. Yes. One more question and one more comment from me. Says there is no state-sponsored takeout database.
Is there one?
Oh, is there a state-sponsored takeout service database?
Where did when we first started this? I don't know. I remember the town of Sudbury got in touch with us and put something on their website to list the restaurants in Sudbury that are providing takeout. I do not know if they're statewide. If I were a consumer, I might start with the Mass Restaurant Association website.
Okay, good. Okay, last item is, this is a question for Don Reiping, which you probably don't know, but the other people here know. He's the guy that sharpens our knives in the kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll let you know if you're misusing a knife too.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to ask you, what should you not do with a chopping knife?
With a chopping knife?
We tell this every time at cooking school.
So as we said, your knife sharpener will attest. First thing you should do is have your knife professionally sharpened. I do not put my knives in the, well, best way to describe knife care and how to take care of a knife's edge is a microscopic edge. Whether or not you know it, it is microscopic. And if you think of that edge as microscopic, a lot of the things that you do with your knife, or a lot of the things that you shouldn't do with a knife, should come clear. I do not put mine in the dishwasher. Do not scrape ingredients on the cutting board. You can imagine what that does. This is your knife's edge. You scrape it along the cutting board. You can imagine what happens. Take good care of it is what I do. Think of that microscopic edge and take the best care of it you can.
Yeah, that's the answer I was looking for. The scraping action. That
Yes.
you're supposed to do. Try not to do that.
Well,
Okay.
what I do is get in the habit. Instead of using the blade edge, flip the knife over
Right.
and use the other edge.
Great. Hey, Scott, thank you very much for
My
coming
pleasure.
today, and good luck to you. And hope to
Thank you.
Hope to see you at a cooking school. Real.
Yeah, we hope to see everybody face to face sooner rather than later. And once again, I can't say enough about yourselves and all of our guests who've really embraced us and really it makes my heart feel good to know that so many people care about us.
Yeah, good. All right.
Yeah.
Take care, Scott.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So for the rest of you, thanks for coming today. I want to thank Hector for being my engineer today, and my wife Linda, who was transcribing the questions. So I'm planning another talk, and this concerns a young woman named Ingrid Gunther, who grew up in Acton.
We grew up on our street.
She grew up on the same street we live on here. She went to AB High School, then off to college. She became a nurse, and then she moved to New York City. And she's been on the front line, ever since this COVID started. And we'd like to talk to her about her experiences. Shooting for 2 weeks from now. But if you are a nurse or know nurses, their schedule is very erratic, and she doesn't know what her schedule is for June. So thanks very much. everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.